Good afternoon, everybody. This is Hunter Mozingo bringing you your daily market insight video here on March 28th, Monday, 4:07 p.m. Eastern Time here in Jacksonville, Florida. And today we're going to talk about commodity stocks stumbling a little bit, cryptocurrency rallying, and Tesla stock split news hitting the market and obviously impacting the price of the stock. So we're going to get into all that stuff, as well as the leaders, the laggards, look at the indices, the tail of the tape. So let's get right into it. What just happened? Nasdaq leads despite a choppy day, a nice recovery from the lows, and we went and closed at the high of the day. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in the tail of the tape because it's an important thing that we're seeing more and more as of the last couple of weeks, and we were not seeing closes at the high of the day for the first 2.5, 3 months of this year. So closing at the high of the days, technology / G6 leading, as you can see here. G6 up 1.13, S&P up 0.7, Q's up a little over 1.5, Dow up 0.27, mid caps up 0.17, excuse me. Russell 2000 flat, 60/40 up 0.25%, and Grow up a little over 0.6%. So all major indices did not finish red. You don't often see them finish flat. But just towards the end of the day, the last 10 to 15 minutes, we saw the Dow, mid caps, small caps make a run at finishing green. So pretty constructive action, a really strong close. Moving on here, market state, no changes, still in an uptrend, and trend gauge also no changes. All of these are going to remain in bullish. That is your leaders, your short term, and your medium term. However, long term stays as it is here until we see more of the other indices getting back above the 200-day moving average. Right now, we've just got the S&P. You want to see the Qs, the Dow, mid caps and small caps also participate in that regard before you make any changes here. So quickly, before we get to the tail of the tape, let me just highlight myself here in the middle. If you have any questions on this video, please just send me an email and I'll happily answer any question you may have. If you're interested in what we do, what our strategy is, how we manage risk, how we take trades, whatever the case may be, you can send me an email or anybody here, Merrill, Dan, Don, or Tim at revereasset.com. So let's get into the tail of the tape. And yes, that is the S&P 500 in the background here. So we're going to work through this. So market state, as we discussed a moment ago, still an uptrend. Headwinds continue to remain. US dollar rising, inflation, Fed taper, interest rates, Russia, Ukraine. This has died down a little bit from the sense of being so headline dominant, but still an immense risk to the market, as you never know what news could happen to come out. Sentiment wise, we do have some pretty big news here on the VIX, dipping back below 20, a pretty big deal to see this come all the way back from where we were nearly at 40 just a couple of weeks ago. Now dipping below 20, this continued to kind of drip lower as the day went on today. Put call ratio, not really doing anything noteworthy per se, finishing about 0.89, spiked up a little bit early in the day when the markets were not looking so good, kind of came back down as the day went on. And then the fear greed up to about a 50, so more or less right in the middle there on fear and greed. As we normally discuss here on bull case, we did initiate the rally. We did reclaim the key moving averages above the 2150 and 200. Haven't broke back below yet. News, I mentioned Tesla stock split. There was a filing that came out essentially indicating that they are trying to or planning to split their stock later this year. And pre-market, they were up about 5 or 6%, ended up being really strong all day, up about 8 to 9% or so. So Tesla stock split, some big news for the market. And what were we watching this morning? Can the S&P hold above the 200-day and stay above 4,500? And as you can see here, that is exactly what we did. So we were able to stay above the 200-day and the 4,500 level. Low of the day right around 45.17. So didn't even make it all the way back to retest it or back test it today. And also worth noting while I'm over here, 8-day crossing up through the 200-day, 21-day crossing up through the 50-day. Two important crosses there on the S&P. As you can see, we were living below the 200-day on the 8 EMA for quite some time here. So getting back above it's a nice sign. Action-wise today, we opened up just slightly down, 0.1%, chopped, and then we had a move lower about an hour to an hour and a half in this morning. After that, we trended up really strong, nice bounce, and closed at the highs of the day. It's something, this pattern is something we've seen more often than not the last couple of weeks, is weakness being absorbed, buyers being present, and trending into the end of the day. So we'll look at a 5-minute chart of the S&P in just a second. But like I just said on my notes here, buyers continue to show up. The cyclicals, not as much bounce as some of the other areas like semiconductors or software or big tech and things like that. So the cyclicals really didn't get as much of the love today. Performance-wise, S&P opened down to 0.1%, closed up 0.71%, G6 up a little over 1, 60/40 up a quarter, and grow up a little over 0.6, like I said a moment ago. Sector-wise, dollar, bonds, which was slightly green here, software, consumer discretionary, excuse me, technology, real estate, some of the risk-on type of sectors showing some strength today, and then some of these commodity sectors, GCC, a commodity ETF/index, oils, gold, silver, miners all week, defense stocks, metals and mining, fertilizers, and banks. So a lot of the stuff that had been really strong, like oils, miners, gold, not strong today and not really helping anybody and not getting much of a bounce either. No changes in the portfolio today, so beta stayed the same. Bottom line, cyclicals, commodities, relax, Nasdaq and tech leads. So certainly something we saw today, whereas those cyclicals that were down early this morning didn't really bounce as much. We saw the technology/growthier stuff come on as the day wore on, and those other, the oils and the golds really not get much of the bounce. So as these are relaxing, it seems to be benefiting the growth/technology area. Key levels here real quick, and then we'll get to the charts. Today's close 45.75, morning weakness absorbed, close high of day. And I mentioned we we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but I want to point this out. So here's your follow through day right here, and I want you to look closely. 1, 2, 3 closes in a row there right at the high of the day. Another close here in about the top 25% of the range or so, are closing near the top of the range, close near the high of the day. A bad sell-off day here where we close at the bottom of the range, and then 3 days in a row on the S&P where we close at the high of the day. That is something we didn't have as much of in here. I know we did right here in this time frame, but it's important to see that there's buyers willing to be at the table all day long supporting this market, providing a bid. That's what's allowing some of these long or these nice closes at the end of the day. You're having momentum carry all the way into the end of the day. Any dips are being absorbed intraday. So there's some positive characteristics in the price action we're seeing that we haven't seen so much in the first half of this year, or the first part of this year, excuse me. So that's today's close, 45.75. 45.43 was yesterday's close right here. But the main thing is we're staying above this 4,500 level, and we're staying above these key moving averages. Additionally, as I said a moment ago, we've got the 21 EMA crossing through the 50, the 8 crossing through the 200 on the S&P. So let's get into it. I'll show you a 5-minute chart here of the S&P so you can see what I mean. So morning chop, that would be this right here, where we chopped for about an hour or so, kind of didn't make much progress, and then we had our move lower. However, we had nice support come in. The low is right around 45.17, and you can see here a very strong trend up for the rest of the day with the close at the highs of the day. So really nice response to that weakness this morning from the S&P, and you'll see that the Qs and most of these other indices look about the same. So the Q is actually the strongest of the group, within striking distance of hitting this 200-day moving average, roughly 368 to 370, a pretty important area up here. Obviously, this thing is getting extended from these moving averages, but it continues to show big time strength here and move higher. And you see that RS line starting to angle up for the first time really in a while, kind of breaking a downtrend line, if you will, on QQQ. We'll move along here. DIA trying its best to get back above the 200-day. A really nice bounce off the 8 EMA. That's that little pink line you can see there. And you can see DIA also picking up the double bottom pattern. SPY also picking up that double bottom pattern, I believe, in MarketSmith now. Yep, there you go. So DIA and SPY now picking up that pattern. And moving on here, MDY Also, just like the Dow, bounced off the 8 and very close to getting back above the 200-day. This is very constructive action as we go through here. These are positive moves, positive bounces here for the indices. IWM, a nice bounce off the 21, back above the 8. So didn't look so great this morning around lunchtime, 11 o'clock Eastern or so. But as the day went on, really nice response from the market for the indices here and for a lot of stocks too. So let's get into some of those stocks, and maybe the one everybody's most interested in is Tesla, which is owned in Grotection. As I said, possible split coming later this year. We know Tesla has had great runs in prior splits. So Tesla up about 8% today, already up and challenging this 1100 level, which is a relatively important spot. Beyond that, you're looking at 1150 and the 1200s before you start challenging these highs, but certainly acting like one of the strongest and best stocks in the market. There's no doubt about it. A very vertical reaction here, but plenty of volume on the move. And you can see here also now picking up a cup pattern on MarketSmith too. So Tesla really strong, not your super conventional pattern, but nonetheless a really powerful move from Tesla. Another name owned in Grotection, Costco here, making a nice move above these recent highs around 560. As you can see, up about 1.5%, 1.7. Excuse me, showing some nice relative strength today versus the S&P, versus the broader markets. I'm going to take a sip of water, if you guys excuse me for a moment. Moving along here, Bros, another name that we own in Grotection. A bounce off the 21, which looks like for the second straight day, excuse me, is what we're going to get here. So 21 day right around 54-ish, 53.61 to be exact, but I would like to see this get some positive momentum going. Hasn't really been able to start moving upward since this reversal day here. You want to see that 21 EMA area hold, and maybe it can start to continue moving upward back over that 60 level, which is a really important spot. A pharmaceutical slash medical name that's looking pretty good. A nice move today, REGN, Regeneron Pharmaceutical. We talked about this one at times in the past, retesting this pivot here and putting in a nice bounce. Not a ton of volume on it today, however. ZIM, the shipping group, nice move today, up about 6%. DAC, another name in this group, up a little bit as well, about 3%. The shippers continue to act pretty well. A nice move. They're strong today while the market was weak, and they stayed strong all day as well. I mentioned cryptocurrency rallying, and I would be remiss if I didn't show you Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin up about 8%. This is BITO. As you can see, pretty much hanging in there, closing in the top part of the range-ish. But really nice action from cryptocurrency today. Bitcoin pushing through some key levels, I believe in that 47 to 48K range at the moment. And big tech wise, a lot of the big tech names came on as the day went along, but Microsoft was strong out of the gate, and so was Amazon. So those were the initial leaders in the big tech world, along with Tesla. But Amazon up 2.5, Microsoft up about 2.5, I believe, or a little over, around 2. And then last couple here, Net up about 5-6% today. Cybersecurity type of name, one of the leaders. It's not a pure cybersecurity play, but they do heavily deal with security. And then a couple sectors here, XLRE, one of the stronger sectors today. Nice pattern here, reclaiming the 200-day, and then XLY, consumer discretionary, also strong today, reclaiming its 200-day as well. So the risk on type of stuff, XLY, XLK, IGV, software, that's kind of where the strength was today, more so than the commodity slash value types of spaces. So moving to some of the stuff that was not good today, like I said, oil, XOP, just an inside day here, but down about 2.5%. Didn't get a ton of a bounce like the rest of the market did, and that's what I wanted to show you here. Just kind of tight in this range. I mean, really traded within about $1.50 range on XOP here. That's your oil and gas exploration ETF, but just not bouncing like the rest of the market. XLE, it's going to look very similar. Just not seeing the same positive action into the end of the day like we were seeing on the S&P. So oil, a big laggard today. XME, metals and mining, also a big laggard today. Some of the names in this group, FCX, Nucor, names like that mostly were down 3, 4, 5% today. So XME a laggard today. The coal-related names also not so great today. Here is Arch and BTU, which we have talked about in the past as well. Both of these down a decent little bit today. And initially, we had SOX that was weak, but that ended up finishing well. But one semiconductor name that did not necessarily finish so good was GFS. Should be noted that it's a relatively volatile name. It has a large ATR, which is an average true range. But this one down about 6% today, while names like NVIDIA were green. So a laggard today. It is a new merchandise name, and it is trying to digest this move above this previous high, the 73.25 pivot. So keep an eye on it, but it is a volatile one. So that's going to wrap up the video today. Thank you guys for watching and for listening. If you have any questions, send me an email. Otherwise, I'll see you on Thursday's video and the podcast. So have a great week, everybody.